We have an incredible opportunity to create entirely new sustainable industries, investing in nature as the true engine of our economy.
The current global crisis has disrupted every aspect of our lives, but it has also presented us with an extraordinary opportunity, a chance to reset and accelerate efforts to improve the state of our world.
Changing our current trajectory will require bold and imaginative action, together with determination and decisive leadership. In order to secure our future and to prosper, we need to evolve our economic model, putting people and planet at the heart of global value creation. If there is one critical lesson we have to learn from this crisis, we need to put nature at the heart of how we operate. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. We need nothing short of a paradigm shift, one that inspires action at revolutionary levels and pace. We simply cannot waste any more time. The only limit is our willingness to act. And the time to act is now.
When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Prado with Man-Made Survival. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching this video. I really do appreciate it because today I have a very important video for you because it's talking about the Great Reset. And really it's not just this one podcast, it's the next 2 or 3, because these series of podcasts are going to be very important to understand exactly what's going on with the entire reset, especially since a lot of information has come out this week and the week before. So it's important for you to understand the information and what to do about it, because I have actually talked about this issue or talked about this reset a few months ago, but I did not go into the detail that I'm going to go into this podcast or this series of podcasts, quite simply because there was not enough information out there. But now there's information that has come out from politicians that have come out and give out statements about it. There's celebrities that have come out and give out statements about it. So the mainstream media is talking about it. The alternative media is talking about it. So that's what's important for me to give you this update. All right. So that is exactly what I'm going to try to do today, because there's a lot of things that we have to understand from this Great Reset. And I'm not just going to give you the information that's come out from the alternative and mainstream media, but I just want to give you the information that's come out exactly directly from the source, from the World Economic Forum. So we have to get into this information, and we have to do this, before it gets much later than it is, because this whole reset has been into a process for a long time now, but now it's in everyone's faces. All right. So before we get into this podcast, I do want to remind you that this information, that this podcast is sponsored by my store, manmadesurvivalstore.com. So I would really appreciate it if you can go on there and make a purchase. You can find different things on there, whether you're preparing for an EMP, a nuclear disaster, or you're just trying to find the perfect gift this holiday season. You can rest assured that all the stuff on there is going to serve that purpose. So I would really appreciate it if you can go to the manmadesurvivalstore.com. Also want to remind you that we're giving a book away for free. It's Preppers Secrete Cache. You can go to www.preppersecretcache.com, or you can just click the link below and go to the site, fill out information, and you will receive the book absolutely free. I do want to let you know that we need your help with the shipping, because the book does retail for $24.99 plus shipping. In this case, you're only paying for the shipping, or helping us with it. So I would really appreciate it if you can get some of those books that is absolutely free and give them to your friends and family, especially the ones that do not want to prepare, or at least not yet. Even though there's a lot of things going on in 2020. All right, so let's get into this podcast. Okay, so this is how I want to start all of this, because I have a lot of information. I have so much information about this, And quite frankly, I did have an understanding of the Great Reset, but since all this information has come out, it has really sharpened the information that I have for you, and it has really given me the understanding of how all of this is going to turn out. So there's several things that we can do about it that's going to pretty much position ourselves better to have a better outcome. There's some things that we can fight off and tell them no and heck no, and there's some other things that we just cannot simply change because the course of history is taking us that direction. We cannot fight against the Bible, and all that is going to come out and be fulfilled whenever God feels like it. That's the one part that we cannot touch as humans. It just will not get done. It will not be done. It'll always be in God's timing. But we can fight off these other, we can fight off what the government is trying to do, and we can prepare to have a better outcome. So at least we can do 2 out of 3. Right? And I do want to tell you, right? So I'm going to be putting a picture up here for you so you can understand where I'm getting the content. And I'm getting it directly from the World Economic Forum. And right here it says content partners. Augmented by machine analysis of more than 1,000 articles a day from carefully selected global think tanks, research institutes, and publishers, including the World Research Institute, European Council of Foreign Relations, the SWP, Harvard Kennedy School, Singapore Institute, CARE, University of Cambridge, ORF, another one that I can't read on the screen, Asia Global Institute, RAND Corporation, Pew Research Center, Center for China and Globalization. Well, that's very interesting. LSE Business Review, ADB, Asian Development Bank, INSEAD, the Business School for the World, Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Brookings, and World Trade Institute, of course, among many others. All right, so since the articles are coming out from the World Economic Forum and they're being written by these people, then you can understand that all this information is not just bogus, all right? Because there's people already coming out trying to say that the information that we're giving you is just conspiracy theory. And, that's their answer to everything. If you don't go along what they're saying, then you're a conspiracy theorist. Where we're pulling it exactly and directly out of the lips of what they're saying, out of their own mouth, and out of the articles that they have provided in their own website. So it's not like we're conspiracy theorists telling you that they're going to try to do something when they're telling you they're going to do it themselves. All right. So there's different things, or no, not things, the different areas and aspects of life that they're going to try to change for us. And when the first one is finance, the second one, let me scroll down, health, then medicine, food, agriculture, energy, education, and government. And the reason that they want to change all of these aspects of society is because when you think of the New World Order, right, which is what the whole Great Reset is it's like another name, another brand, or rebranding the New World Order into this. The reason that it's different, the reason they want to change this is because, let's say, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, when we were here about the New World Order, it was completely different than what it was or what it is now. Because the technology that we have now probably didn't have it back in those days. And, the imagination of the globalists didn't go as far. So now that we have this technology, when we could actually print meat, from plant-based properties and insects and all these things that we have the technology for now they're seeing the opportunity there, and they want to change the aspects of society to where they actually control everything. So that is the reason why they meddle into the finances, and that was that was the main thing in those days. That's the one thing they could control, because they wanted to control the entire world, and they were going to do it through finances, and then they did whatever they want. But now they're saying they're stopping and saying, okay, now we have this other tool, global warming, or climate change, which they changed the name. It morphed into climate change. Then they want to do the agriculture, the education, everything. They want to change everything because they're the ones who are seeing this as the opportunity to influence everyone else, since they're not only bringing the leaders to the World Economic Forum, but they're also bringing leaders in the companies, in different other ones. And for example, you can see Trump there, and you can see Bill Gates there too, in the same room, discussing issues as if the leaders of the corporations were someone that we should be listening to, or even the president should be listening to. And it's not just Bill Gates; it's very, very many partners that the World Economic Forum has. It has actually grown exponentially in the past few years. But you can actually go into World Economic Forum's website and look at all the partners. They have A through Z, and there's a bunch of them in every single letter. Of course, the ones that from the United States, the main ones is Microsoft, Facebook, and others. So all of this has become a team effort that they want to change the entire world. And it's not only through finances and a new world order. Now they want to reset the whole thing back to the beginning with the technology that they have now. All right, so the first headline that I have for you is from the World Economic Forum, and it's very important that you listen to what is inside of it, because it's really telling you what they think. They're looking at COVID-19, and whether they did it or not, they're looking at how people reacted. They gather the data, and they're looking at this as the great opportunity of a lifetime to reset the entire system. All right, so the headline is, "Now is the time for a great reset." As I mentioned, that's from the World Economic Forum. And it says, "There are many reasons to pursue a great reset, but the most urgent is COVID-19. We must build entire new foundations for economic and social systems." All right, so as I mentioned earlier, it's not just the economics anymore. Now it's the social systems as well, and everything that's in it. "The level of cooperation and ambition this implies is unprecedented, but it is not some impossible dream. In fact, one silver lining of the pandemic is that it has shown how quickly we can make radical changes of our lifestyles almost instantly. The crisis forced businesses and individuals to abandon practices that long claimed to be essential, from frequent air travel to working in an office. Likewise, populations have overwhelmingly shown a willingness to make a sacrifice for the sake of healthcare and other essential workers and vulnerable populations, such as the elderly. Clearly, the will to build a better society does exist. We must use it to secure the great reset that we so badly need. That will require strong and more effective governments, though this does not imply an ideological push for bigger ones. And it will demand private sector engagement every step of the way. The third and final priority of the Great Reset agenda is to harness the innovation of the Fourth Industrial Revolution to support the public good, especially by addressing health and social challenges. All right, so this one article in the World Economic Forum's website is very important, because they're looking at COVID-19 and they're saying, this happens so we can take advantage of certain things. All right, so one of the things that it says is that how people quickly make radical changes to their lifestyle. From almost instantly, the crisis forced businesses and individuals to abandon practices long claimed to be essential. And I don't know if they understand that the major thing that happened is that we saw all the reports coming out of China. Right, we saw the people falling over, seizing, passing out, dying. We saw the hospitals overflown. People pretty much, putting sheets over them because they had already died in the hallway. We saw all those things from China, and once it got here, everybody was like, "Holy crap! We have to make sure that we take care of ourselves." And we were gonna go into lockdown, which China did that in very many cities that has millions and millions of people. In some cases, more population than New York and Los Angeles combined. Everybody went to lockdown. The streets were ghost towns, and that's what we saw of China. So once it happened here, we did the same thing because we thought it was going to be that big of a deal. And then as more information came out, we went away from all of that because we understood how the virus actually worked. It didn't have that big of an impact on the entire population. Now, of course, there are some sections of the population, group age where it actually affects a lot. And, it's mainly the elderly. And the virus is very real, all right? I'm not saying that the virus is not real, because it has actually, hit pretty close to home. As I mentioned in the past, people from church have actually passed away from it. And some people in my family have actually gotten sick. So I know it's a real thing. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is that they're seeing this as the opportunity to enforce what they want to do with the entire planet. It's not just the United States. It's not just a third world country that they're doing this in. It's the entire planet they want to do it at, and they want to control all of it, not just through government, but also through the private sector. Why? Because the private sector runs in a way that the governments cannot mess with too much. All right. For example, Facebook, Facebook and Twitter, they're censoring a bunch of people. And what's the first thing that comes out of people's mouth? Well, it's a private company that can do whatever they want. All right. So using that way of thinking about corporations, they can force people to do things if they want to find a job. And people are going to be desperate enough to where they're going to comply with what they want to do so they can continue to go and get their paycheck, right? There's places around the country that do not have any type of mask mandates, but there's corporate mask mandates, and people have to obey and they have to comply. Otherwise, they have no job. Okay, so that's how it is. It's not so much that people are volunteering into this; they're being forced into it. And something that I want to mention, okay, because it has to do with this, the last part where it says, the third and final priority of the Great Reset agenda is to harness the innovations of the Fourth Industrial Revolution to support the public good, especially by addressing health and social challenges. What is happening with this Fourth Industrial Revolution is that they are not letting you volunteer into it. They're forcing you into it. All right. And the biggest thing about this is that they're actually giving you a timeline now. All right. So in the prepper community, we like, the entire basis of the prepper community is that we look into the future and say, sometime in the future, we don't know when, sometime in the future, there could be some type of disaster, whether man-made or natural. Okay. And we must prepare for it. And that's what we actively do over the years. All right. Until we get to the point where the disaster happens and we say, all right, this is what we prepare for. We know exactly what to do. Let's roll. That's exactly what they do. But what they are doing, what the Great Reset people, the World Economic Forum, and everybody involved in it, what they are doing with all of this is that they're making you go into it. They're forcing you. They're going to tax you to death if you don't comply. All right. So the way that I like to explain this, because I've explained it to people, is that when the iPhone came out, okay, they did not say, we have come out with a great tool to track you every step of the way. Every little thing you do, we're going to track you. And not only that, we're going to force you to have it with you at all times. And not only that, we're going to force you to get Facebook and to upload your pictures. And we're going to force you to have all these apps that look into your contacts and your pictures. You're going to do it because we're telling you to. Otherwise, we're going to tax you to death or we're going to throw you in your prison. Right? They did not come out and say that. What they did is that they said, look, there's a new iPhone. There's a new Android. There's a new cell phone, a smartphone. It helps you do things. It's connected to the internet. You don't have to wait to be at home to use the internet. You can use it on the go. And, now they come up with plans where you use unlimited data. You can use Facebook. You can use Netflix. You can use, YouTube, whatever it is that you want to use on your phone. Now you have the unlimited data. You don't have to worry about paying charges over it. But it's with you all the time. It's tracking you all the time. It's mining the data out of you all the time. But you volunteer into it. Okay. Their mistake is that they're doing it in where they're forcing people into it. They're forcing industries into it. You and I, we're going to have repercussions if we don't comply with what they want to do. Okay. So now getting this aspect of what they're doing for the prepper community would actually be something that we will like. Okay. That we will volunteer into it, because I say this. If they came out, all right, one of their main things is, the environment and everything. And they want to get rid of fossil fuels. But the way they want to do it is they want to replace it with batteries, right? With solar panels, with wind turbines, with electric cars, everything, all right? So, hang on for a second. They want people to switch from fossil fuel, from a car that uses gas, to electric everything. For a prepper, that's fantastic. Because if we have solar panels in our bug out locations or our current location, and, we can have renewable energy for a prepper, that's freaking great. We would like that. That is something that we want. Because preppers, we understand that in the future, we could be faced in a situation where we have no fuel, or there's very small quantities of it, where it could be very expensive or whatever the case may be. We understand we need something else that we can fall back on, and that would be the electric cars, right? It would be if there was a way to recharge it without having to pay a lot of money, we would do it. Or if they came and say, you know what, you don't have to use your power anymore. You don't have to pay for your power bill anymore. Here's some solar panels. You would take that, now not talking about preppers, but you as a normal person who goes to work every single day, if they came out to you and said, look, we have solar panels and the government is going to give them out because we believe that we need to work on this. All right, but here you go. It's free and it's optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but it's going to help you with your power bill. The first thing that you're going to think about is going to be the money that you're going to save. So what are you going to do? You're going to put it on your roof, or you're going to use the system that's going to be electric. Then you will volunteer into it. You will willingly walk into the entire thing. As with the cell phone, we understand now that it tracks you, that it listens to you, and that it does all these things. And cell phones are very useful. I mean, I'm using my cell phone right now to record this podcast. And they're useful, and we understand that it does all these things that are negative, yet we still carry it every single day. Yet we take it everywhere we go. Yet we use it for every little task that we need. All right, and now they're introducing the ones that you talk to, the Alexa and the other one, which I don't like because to me they're useless. But anyways, people will volunteer into that technology, but what they're doing is that they're forcing you into it. They're telling you that if you don't do it, they're going to text the crap out of you, that there's going to be repercussions, and you're going to be a bad citizen. All right, so I want to move on because I feel like I ranted for a few minutes there. So I'm going to be playing you a video, and I'm going to pretty much talk over the video because it's just words and music. So I have to do this for the people who are listening to the podcast who are not actually watching the video. So, I don't want them to have a few minutes of just music. So I'm going to talk over it. For those of you who are on brighteon.com, or you're on brighteon.social or YouTube or Facebook, you're listening to this, you're going to be able to see the video and go along with what I'm saying. All right, so this video predicts 8 things. It has 8 predictions for the world in 2030. And it's telling you that you're not going to own anything and you're going to be happy about it. The first one says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent and it will be delivered by drone. Number 2, the U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. A handful of nations will dominate. Number 3, you won't die waiting for an organ donor. We won't transplant organs, we'll print new ones instead. Number 4, you'll eat much less meat. It will become an occasional treat, not a staple, for a good of the environment and our health. Number 5, 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. You will have to do better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. Number 6, polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. There will be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history. Number 7, you can go to Mars and find alien life, and scientists will have worked out how to keep you healthy in space. Number 8, Western values will have been tested to the breaking point. All right, so why that is important? Because there are several things in just that prediction for 2030. Again, they're giving you a timeline already, all right? So you cannot say that you never heard this and then it blindsided you 10 years from now and say, what can I do now? I didn't hear about this. You're hearing about it now and you have 10 years to prepare. It would be like 9/11. We're 9/11 and that said by 2020 there's going to be another terrorist attack. Then you had 19 years to prepare. Or for example, World War II, when they dropped the atom bombs, let's say 100 years from now, there's going to be 2 more bombs dropped somewhere in the United States. You may not live to see that, but you will pass down that information and you will get your family ready, your kids ready, so that your kids and your kids' kids are ready for that day. All this information can be used for you to do something about it. All right, it's not just enough for you to know and not do anything about it. That is one of the reasons why I want you to share this podcast, because others, they just give the information, they complain about it a little bit, and then they tell you that someone is doing either something about it or nothing about it. And that's as far as it goes. What I'm doing is I'm giving you information and telling you what we can do about it and how to prepare for it, which is why I need you to share this information far and wide in all your social media. But anyways, let's continue on. You will own nothing and be happy. Number 2, the U.S. won't be the world leading superpower. A handful of nations will dominate. Now, they're giving you a warning right here. So if the United States will not be the superpower in 10 years, will that also mean that they're not the world currency anymore? That we're not the world currency anymore? All right, so what would that happen? What would that do to our currency? Think about that. One of the things that has kept the inflation from being and looking like Venezuela and Zimbabwe is that the fact that we are the world's reserve currency. But if they're warning you that this is going to go away in the next 10 years, what are you going to do about it? All right, because it's more than likely not going to be 10 years. They're saying by 2030, it's not going to be a superpower anymore. So when would it be? 5 years from now? 8 years from now? Let's remember, there's other things going on at the same time by 2030. This is not the only thing. All right, one of the things is that hyperinflation would hit in the food sector by 400% in between 2020 and 2030. That's just an average. That means that it could go higher, it could go lower, but the point is that that's happening from now into the 2030s. China is supposed to surpass the United States in 4 years economically, militarily in 10 to 12 years. It's still in the 2030 era, or time. It's just sorts of other things that is happening all in 2030. So you have time to prepare. How long? I don't know. But the whole financial thing is something that we're going to be focusing on today. Let's see. The next thing that I want to say is about, it's not going to be relevant in this podcast. It's going to be on the next one. In the next one, remember this is a series. So it says, usually much less meat. It will become an occasional treat, not a staple for the good of the environment and our health. So pretty much what they're saying is that they're going to force you to not eat as much meat. All right, so it looks like a bunch of vegetarians are taking over the world. 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. You will have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. So pretty much they're telling you that there's going to be 1 billion people moving around the world, and they're going to probably have to stay in your area. All right, so now moving to the whole finances thing. All right. It's very important that we understand where we're going in, or what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to give you pretty much an overview real quick so you have an idea. Right now, there's fiat currency, okay? And the World Economic Forum wants to have cryptocurrency. And right now, we're in the process of that. Right now, there's very heavily fiat, even though only 3% of the fiat is actually circulating in the United States. In cash, actual cash, instead of just the plastic on your debit card, which would be digital. There's a big difference between digital dollars and cryptocurrencies. But anyways, they want to shift the world into cryptocurrency. Why? Because they can control it a lot better. They can understand exactly what you do with your dollars all the time. And remember, the cryptocurrencies, they are powered by blockchain. And blockchain pretty much has a transaction every step of the way that cannot be erased or cannot be altered. So if somebody's controlling all of this, it's perfect for them because they understand exactly what you spend your money on. And of course, they do that now. If you spend your money with your credit card or your debit card, the statement is there. Every single detail that you spend it on, it's on there. So it's not hidden. But when you go to cash and you pay for something cash, then that's when they don't know. And that's what they're trying to eliminate. Now, we're between fiat and we're in fiat and we're trying to go to crypto, but there's one step in the middle that we're going into so we can pretty much extend that bridge and make it easier. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about here in just a second. All right, the first hand that I have for you says this: welcome to 2030. I own nothing, I have no privacy, and life has never been better. That's also from the World Economic Forum. Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or I should say our city. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. It might seem odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in this city. Everything you consider a product has now become a service. We have access to transportation, accommodation, food, and other things we need in our daily lives. One by one, all these things became free, so it ended up not making sense for us to own much. In our city, we don't pay rent because someone else is using our free space whenever we do not need it. My living room is used for business meetings when I'm not there. Once in a while, I get annoyed about the fact that I have no real privacy. Nowhere I can go and not be registered. I know that somewhere, everything I do, think, and dream of is recorded. I just hope nobody will use it against me. My biggest concern is all the people who do not live in our city. Those we lost on the way. Those who decided that it became too much. All this technology. Those who felt obsolete and useless when robots and AI took over big parts of our jobs. Those who got upset with the political system and turned against it. They live in different kind of lives outside of the city. Some have formed little self-supplying communities. Others just stayed in the empty and abandoned houses in small 19th century villages. All right, so that is an article that is on there. Okay, let me remind you that all these articles are written by people in Harvard and other institutions. All right, so this is not just some crazy person, deciding to write it for the World Economic Forum and just upload it. All these are reviewed, and if they like it, they put them up, pretty much. All right, so this one obviously reflects the views of the World Economic Forum. So there are several things in this article, and I encourage you to get the title, go to the worldeconomicforum.org, and look it up because, of course, a lot longer than this. There's more details in it. So I'll just get the pieces that I need for the podcast so it doesn't get too long, as I've explained in the past. The thing about this article is that you don't own anything. You don't own a car, you don't own a house, appliances, or any clothes, pretty much anything. You don't even own your own living room because there's people who's going in there working, and you don't have any privacy. That's what she's saying, that she's annoyed, or he's annoyed, about living in a city where there's no privacy, or they don't go to a place that is not, they don't register, and their thoughts and dreams are being recorded, and they don't want it to be used in the future. So what is that telling you? That technology has advanced enough to the point where they can actually read your mind. All right, and that is a real technology that has come out. If you have never heard of Elon Musk Neuralink, you really have to look it up because that's pretty much what it is. It's a little computer chip that they put in your brain. You can use some electronics that are already using the internet. And what they wanted to eventually become one day is that people can talk to each other telepathically. So that would actually is not far off, especially 10 years from now, since Elon Musk already has the technology now. And just imagine how much more advanced it's going to be 10 years from now. And they have different goals that they want to achieve. But mind reading and recording your thoughts and dreams is not far-fetched. All right, so one of the things that I want you to really pay attention to is that one of the biggest concerns in this article is that, or for the person who wrote it, is the people who did not want to be part of the system. They're pretty much living in abandoned houses in small 19th century villages. So pretty much you compare it, when you put them side by side, you have everything you want, all the technology you want, pretty much everything's the best. Over here, you're poor in a 19th century village. All right, so which one do you want? That's what they're pretty much painting in this picture. But not just that. All right, let's remember, when they tell you that something is free, whatever it is, it usually sucks. All right, whatever service it is, usually when it's free, it really sucks, with commercials, with not being the best products, especially they fall apart very easily. That would be the same concept over here. But, I guess we will have to wait and see, especially if you are not part of the system. All right, so there are people all throughout the world. There is actually politicians in Australia, one politician, or really it's two, who are seeing the dangers of the Great Reset. And she's warning their parliament about all these issues, all right? So the next headline that I have for you is from the epochtimes.com, and it reads, Great reset of capitalism, a threat to our way of life, Australian Senator says. I have a video for that. Here it is.
Thank you so much for watching. We're here in conversation with Stephen Conroy, with Corey Bernardi, with Pauline Hanson. Now, Pauline, you took on the globalists yesterday. I'll play some of the people pushing back at you, but try to explain to people what you were trying to achieve in the Senate yesterday.
Well, actually, it was on the floor today, Paul.
Apologies.
The World Economic Forum. So anyway, what it is about globalisation. They're pushing their own agenda, and I think it's pushing us towards the socialist, left, Marxist view of the world. And they're using this forum now to push that when the pandemic's on, that governments can actually now control the people and to push them in their own way, their own agenda. And I'm totally opposed to that. It's about getting rid of capitalism, and so if you've got a company, then you shouldn't have shareholders. You should actually be sharing the wealth around. That is total socialism. And these elites have their own little world they live in. They don't have anything to worry about. So these people want to control the rest of the populace and push their own agenda on the rest of the populace. And We've seen it here in Australia, whether it's in the educational system that's happening, the socialism, even the media. You have people that are employed in these areas pushing their own agenda, and it's losing our democracy, who we are, and it's about slowly losing our sovereignty. So I've put this up on the floor of Parliament today. You know what? The whole Parliament voted against it, bar Malcolm and I. So here you have the Libs, the Nats, the Greens, the centre. Well, they're not Centre Alliance, but Rex Patrick and the whole lot of them, and the Labor Party, who are actually scoffing at this, laughing at it. And you know what? Half of them wouldn't have a bloody clue what they're talking about. And they joke about Agenda 21. They have no idea the impact that it's having on the world and our lifestyles. So, I wish they'd actually really start to understand and not think it's a whole bloody joke.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of the Greens going off, and God forbid you wanting to use the Parliament to talk about this stuff. This, by the way, is the same day where the Senate voted in favour of a Senate committee into the media, code for us, more in a sec, but have a look.
The Greens are opposed to this motion, which reflects the sad, insular and fear-filled agenda of one nation, running scared of Agenda 21 and the Illuminati and the shadowy cabals that supposedly control the world. I mean, one nation is criticising it in response to COVID-19 because they say it would negatively impact on our economic well-being and individual freedoms. But the truth is, unless we take this pandemic seriously and cooperate globally, dying of coronavirus actually has a much more serious impact on your individual freedoms and your economic freedoms.
Where can we pull that away, Corey, fair dinkum? Where does the crazy start? Anyway, I think it's self-explanatory. Good on you, Pauline, for standing up on it.
All right, so very important what she said on that video. Countries are going to lose their sovereignty because they have actually all come together, the private sector and the government officials alike. They come together, they're talking about these issues, they're coming to, agreements or deals to where they're actually all working together. All right, the chances that the people in the Parliament are actually part of it are very, actually a high probability, since the World Economic Forum is only open to world leaders. All right, so, and I think you have to get an invitation, but the point is that it is not far-fetched, because there's a big list. If you actually go to the World Economic Forum and you look at their partners, they actually have a huge list of all the corporations that have come together that want to work together. All right, so that's why it's important for us to pay attention. She's saying that it's going to be a great threat to our way of life, because they're going to change everything from finances to agriculture, education, medicine. you name it, they want to change it. And in some aspects, they have changed several things. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, we are going from, or they want to transition us from fiat currency to cryptocurrency. All right, but right now we're somewhere smack in the middle, or actually we're going to take the step to extend the bridge through the Federal Reserve. And the way we're going to do that is through this article: how the government's new real-time payment system can transform commerce. That's from Fortune.com. As Federal Reserve Governor Leigh Brainard noted Thursday, the need for an ubiquitous real-time payment system that has become increasingly apparent at a time where the U.S. government has had to transfer billions of dollars in stimulus funds to Americans in need of financial assistance during the coronavirus pandemic. So pretty much what it's saying is that the Federal Reserve doesn't want to go through the IRS and then processing checks and then sending them through to Americans, or going to the IRS to send it to the banks. They want to send it directly to the American people, as if the bank, for whatever you have, let's for example say, I don't know, what's a bank out there, a major bank, Chase. All right, let's say Chase, all right, decides that you need a stimulus, they just send you the money. But they can do that because, for one, they don't have the money, and two, they would have to have approval. So what the Federal Reserve is saying is instead of they dealing with the Congress, Senate, and the President, if they feel the need that the economy is falling down and that they need a stimulus for you to spend the money, for you to spend it on whatever it is that you spend it on, so the economy can be boosted, then they want to do that. Because the United States is a very big spender, all right? For example, Black Friday, now that it's coming up, it's a very good example. Black Friday, there's people who spend a lot of money, and collectively, the United States spends over $90 billion in just one night. In just one night. So this economy is driven by spending money. The United States is run by spending money. So if the Federal Reserve feels like, the economy is imploding for whatever reason, they're just going to give you money to spend it. And because there would be a time limit on however long you can keep that money. For example, $1,200. They're saying you have from December 1st to December 20th to spend all this money. Whatever you didn't spend, we're going to take out of the account, and you're going to have to wait your other round of stimulus payment. But anyways, the point is that the Fed wants to create that bridge between fiat currency and cryptocurrency for the World Economic Forum. Of course, there's difference of opinions between them too, but the point is that the central banks are going to work the same direction because they're also invited to the World Economic Forum. All right, so now something that I found out that really blew my mind off is that there's something happened in the banking world that is really gonna devastate a lot of banks, especially the smaller ones, if they don't do it right. And they actually have a timeline on this, which would be December 31st, 2021. They have for the end of the next year to actually get through the system that they're implementing for banks, right? Which I'm going to be talking about here in just a second. But I don't want you to focus on the system itself, because this one pretty much affects the banks, even though it would affect you too. But it's mainly just like a group think within the bank that say we're going to do these rules, but we'll get to that. What I want you to pay attention for one is the debt and how it affects you through your mortgage. All right, here's the headline. Banks brace for big bang switch on $80 trillion worth of swaps. That's on Bloomberg.com. In a critical development in the global shift away from all benchmarks that was triggered by LIBOR's shortcomings, interest rate swaps on more than $80 trillion in notional debt will transition this weekend to a new rate for determining their value. While the switch to the Secure Overnight Financial Rate, or SOFR, is expected to boost long-term liquidity in the new benchmark. It also is fueling concerns about unruly price actions because it is expected to trigger the sale of swaps on tens of billions of dollars of debt. Quote, the big banks are very prepared for this big bang. But do I think the smaller banks are ready for this? Not even close. When it comes to the overall switch to SOFR, he said, there are so many nuances in the transition and the devil's in the detail. There is nothing simple in all this, end quote. All right, so all of that has a lot to do with derivatives. And pretty much what a derivative is a contract between two or more parties whose value is based on agreeing upon underlying financial assets like a security or a mortgage, or a set of assets like an index, a bunch of mortgages. commonly underlying instruments like bonds, commodities, currencies, interest rates, market indexes, and stocks. So pretty much what they do, okay? So the reason that it's not that big of a deal for you is because you don't work for the bank, because you know you don't have a bank. So you can have a little bit of understanding what the LIBOR is. It's just pretty much a benchmark on when they come together with these liabilities, with these derivatives. They're saying, okay, you know, we have this bundle of houses that we want to sell to you, and we have to pretty much agree on the benchmark that the LIBOR has put for interest rate. Okay, now they're shifting from that interest rate to SOFR, which is a different interest rate. All right, that's why I say between. It's not really going to matter to you because you don't own a bank. And if you do, then you know what I'm talking about. But the point is that between the banks is going to matter, because now what's going on with the pandemic, with people defaulting on their loans, with people losing their house, losing their cars, you know, losing their motorcycles, losing their credit because their credit card is maxed out and they don't have any more money to pay on it or anything like that. All of that is going to reflect in those $80 trillion that are going to be lost. All of those are contracts. All those other derivatives that are going to be lost eventually, because they're not going to be able to, unload that debt. For example, if you get your house foreclosed, the bank is going to put a certain price to it, so they can pretty much whatever is left of that contract, they can try to get the money when they can try to get the money so they can pay that off, and they can get their money back for it. So they're going to put a certain price that's going to cover that, and then someone else is going to come and buy the house cheaper because it's on a foreclose. What the bank wants to do is just unload it. They want to get their money back so they don't default on that $80 trillion in debt. That's how that happens. Well, at least that's my understanding of it. So I want to go ahead and finish this video with a video that I want to show you, and then I'll come back and give my closing remarks. Here it is.
It was 2008 when the system actually died and was then put on life support. And all they really did was mask all the problems and allow them to get bigger and allow the financial system to get more fragile. But ultimately, the system has to reset because there's no place to go. I'm not going to tell you this is going to happen by the end of Trump's reign. I'm telling you that when confidence in the currency and the institutions are lost, and we've watched that confidence deteriorate over time, and it's pretty low right now. That's why we have the rise of populism. That's why we have all of these riots going on. When that confidence in this con game is lost, they will have to reset the system. And that's what everything they've been working for is happening. I can't tell you it's going to be tomorrow at 8:35. I wouldn't even try and tell you it's tomorrow at 8:35. So what it means to you and me is that the entire financial system will go into a forced reset. That's why the convenience of coronavirus, where they're justifying and pointing fingers and trying to deflect so that the guys that got us into this problem can remain in power afterwards. That's what this whole thing is about. And that's why you need physical gold, physical silver outside of the system, because it's not subject to those same things. And
well, I want to thank you so much for staying all the way to the end, for listening to this podcast. Please share this with your friends and family. I hope you understand the importance of this podcast and how important it is for us to really pay attention to all this information and do something about it. They're giving us timelines now, okay? There's a timeline on the books that we need to get this done, and we have 10 years to get it done. I say less because there's other events going on globally that would prevent us from being fully prepared by that time. But the point is that you still have to be proactive, and you have to make sure that you get prepared every single day and have a foundation. Do not follow stupid advice. Don't follow opinions. Follow sound tactics on all of this, all right? And I'm hoping that I'm teaching you this. I hope I'm teaching you this very well. But anyways, I want to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by my store, MemorySurvivalStore.com. We're also giving away a book for free. It's Preppers Secrete Cache. You can go to www.prepperssecretcache.com and you can order the book from there, or you can go to the MemorySurvivalStore.com. You know, we have the picture of the book on there. If you click on order now, it'll take you to the link where you can put in your information and we'll send it to you right away. Again, the book is absolutely free. All we need your help is with shipping. So please come back for the next podcast, because we're going to be talking about all the other aspects, and you don't want to miss the whole COVID-19 and what they want to do with the food sector and everything else. So again, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.